Ever wondered if dreams could foretell the future? Some are just fleeting memories, but others unlock doors to things yet to come. Back in 1999, an unknown artist in Japan released a strange manga, chronicling 15 prophetic dreams she'd had. And believe it or not, one by one, those dreams started coming true. But the scariest part? The final dream is still out there, waiting. The book predicts it'll happen at exactly 5 a.m. on July 5th, 2025. What went down in that dream that's haunted readers for 2 decades? Why is it so terrifying? Let's dive into this mystery. Buckle up, because we're about to enter a story that could completely change how you see the world. And before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. July 1st, 1999 in Japan, a peculiar comic book hit the shelves. Its title was simple but intriguing, The Future I Saw. Nobody really noticed it. I mean, there was no reason to. The art wasn't flashy, the author was a nobody, and there was zero media buzz. If anyone picked it up, they'd just see a bunch of weird dreams sketched in pencil, with some hurried notes scribbled on the sides. It looked like a visual diary, dream fragments brought to life in rough drawings, sometimes chaotic, sometimes obscure, so cryptic you couldn't even guess the meaning. But then, more than a decade later, on March 11th, 2011, Japan was rocked by a catastrophic earthquake and tsunami that devastated the Northeast. Over 15,000 lives were lost, tens of thousands went missing, and the world watched in shock as a technologically advanced nation was swallowed by the ocean. During those days of chaos and fear, a shocking discovery emerged, sending ripples across Japanese online communities. People remembered that forgotten comic book, and what they found blew everyone's minds. 12 years earlier, a dream drawn in pencil had depicted a scene that was eerily identical to the disaster on March 11th. Seawater flooding the streets, tsunami waves crashing inland, and strange numbers like 311 on the book's cover. Like a warning no one understood at the time. The coincidence was too obvious, too detailed to ignore. Thousands started hunting down the comic. They flipped through every page, examined every sketch, every note, trying to decode a message from the future. And then they discovered something even crazier. The book held a total of 15 prophetic dreams. And get this, people figured out that 12 and a half of them had already come true. When The Future I Saw suddenly became the center of attention after the 2011 disaster, the big question on everyone's lips was, who was the person behind all this? All eyes turned to the author, but all they found was a mysterious name, Tatsuki, a pen name with no real information. Nobody knew who she was. Even the publisher's office had no contact details for her. In a world where you can find anything online, the fact that someone could disappear for over 20 years just added to the mystery. As Tatsuki became a phenomenon, fake accounts popped up all over social media. Imposters claimed to be the author, released new prophetic dreams, and spread confusion. Some people thought it was a planned hoax. Others suspected Tatsuki wasn't a person, but some kind of organization, or worse, a project by hidden powers to manipulate the public. Then out of nowhere in October 2023, just as the hype around the manga resurfaced, Tatsuki made a comeback. She did it by re-releasing the original book, this time with all the details and explanations. The Future I Saw transformed from a simple dream collection into a full-blown document of her experiences, her writings, her memories over the years. In this comeback, Tatsuki revealed a few things about herself. Born December 2nd, 1954, in Kanagawa Prefecture, now living in the port city of Yokohama. Her childhood was nothing special, like millions of Japanese kids after the war. She loved painting, singing, and had a dreamy, sensitive side. But she had something that set her apart. Starting at age 9, she began having dreams that were totally different. In those dreams, she saw an old man with silver hair, gentle eyes, and a quiet voice. He would show up beside her, sharing visions of things to come. They'd talk in her dreams, walk under the moonlight, and he'd whisper about things she wouldn't understand for years. The first dream that really freaked her out came in 1976. One November night, Tatsuki dreamed of a man singing under bright stage lights, then collapsing out of nowhere in the fading light. The crowd gasped, and she instantly knew who it was. Freddie Mercury, the singer from Queen. Back in 1976, Freddie Mercury was on top of the world, healthy, his voice booming in stadiums everywhere. Predicting his death seemed crazy, but instead of dismissing it, Tatsuki quietly sketched the dream and wrote it down in her diary. 15 years later, on November 24, 1991, the world was shocked by the news. Freddie Mercury had died. TV stations ran special reports. Newspapers put him on the front page. When Tatsuki opened her old diary, she couldn't believe her eyes. It was the first time she felt scared. Scared that dreams were more than just dreams. When she turned on the TV, the thing that terrified her most wasn't Freddie's death, but a documentary showing fans planning a biopic to remember him. In her 1976 diary, there was a small drawing of a film crew shooting a scene about a deceased artist. The resemblance was disturbing. Tatsuki tried to tell herself it was just a coincidence, but deep down she knew. Coincidences that perfect just don't happen. From that moment, her dreams started coming more often, and they followed a weird pattern. Some happened 5 years later, some 10, and some exactly 15 years from when she saw them. She began documenting everything, every little detail. The setting, the sounds, the colors, names, the time, even the emotions she felt. Another dream happened on August 31st, 1992. She saw herself walking down a long hall with sunlight pouring in through huge windows. At the end of the hall was a painting of a blonde woman holding a child. The name Diana was written on the canvas. Then in the blink of an eye, a blinding light, the sound of metal crashing, and the screams of people. 5 years later, on August 31st, 1997, the world was stunned. Princess Diana had died in a car accident in Paris. Again, Tatsuki's diary had recorded it years before. Simple sketches that were chillingly accurate. From 1995 onwards, the prophetic dreams became more frequent, touching on bigger things. Natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, geological events beyond human control. Because of this increasing urgency, she started drawing the book the world would later search for, The Future I Saw. One winter night in 1995, Tatsuki dreamed of the silver-haired old man again. In the dream, he led her to a strange land where the ground was split open and the air was thick with choking stone dust. Tatsuki woke up in the middle of the night with a terrible feeling. The next morning, she opened her journal and wrote down the date, January 2nd, 1995. Then she sketched the ruined landscape and wrote one line underneath. Something will break in 15 days. Exactly 15 days later, on January 17th, 1995, the Great Henshin earthquake, also known as the Kobe earthquake, struck, killing nearly 6,500 people. Tens of thousands of homes collapsed, and Japan, a nation of order and resilience, was left exposed to the power of nature. In that moment, Tatsuki had no doubts. She knew she wasn't imagining things. She believed the future was sending her a message. And believing these warnings shouldn't stay hidden, She started putting her dreams together and released the manga, The Future I Saw. But here's the crazy part. Right after the book came out in 1999, Tatsuki disappeared again. Maybe the story would have ended there if it weren't for one more dream. A dream so intense, so important, it made her break her silence after 2 decades. One July night in 2021, Tatsuki woke up in a cold sweat. Her breathing was heavy. She dreamed of standing alone in a huge ocean under an ash-colored sky with no sun. The sea south of Japan began to bubble. Then from the depths of the ocean, 2 massive dragons rose, twisting and writhing like they were tearing apart the earth. Then came an explosion, followed by silence as the land was swallowed. She realized this was a continuation of the older vision from 1999, but this time it was clearer, more violent. She couldn't ignore it. She had to say something. So in 2023, Tatsuki re-released her book with new dreams and, most importantly, a warning about a catastrophe that was coming. In that dream, she stood at an immense height, able to see the sea south of Japan spread out below her like a 3-dimensional map. At first, the ocean was calm, but then massive pockets of air started rising from the ocean floor, bubbling up like giant cauldrons. It was a sign of an underwater volcano ready to erupt. But what she could never forget, what was burned into her memory, was the sight of 2 giant dragons. They twisted beneath the water, slowly taking shape. They moved silently, coiling around the rising bubbles, like they were guarding something hidden below. Then in an instant, a massive column of water burst from the sea, tearing through the sky and creating a tsunami beyond imagination. Tatsuki stood frozen as waves 3 times taller than the 2011 disaster crashed toward the shore, carrying clouds of dust, vehicles, buildings, and millions of people. She couldn't remember how she breathed in that dream. All she knew was that after the wave, a new land began to rise. It surfaced slowly from the water, like an ancient being waking up from a long sleep. Wet soil churned upward, stone pushed into jagged forms, untouched, rugged, and raw. In that moment, Tatsuki knew that this new land would connect Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines into one continent. In chaos, people usually think of endings, but in Tatsuki's dream, the end brought a beginning, a new chapter humanity wasn't expecting or prepared for, but couldn't refuse. What made the dream even more terrifying was this. Tatsuki had seen the exact date it would happen. It was written clearly, 5 a.m., July 5th, 2025. She probably knew people would doubt her, laugh, call it superstition, but she also knew that if even a few people believed and prepared, the loss wouldn't be as great if the dream came true. Some see Tatsuki's dream as just anxiety, but for those who followed her predictions since the 70s, one thing's clear. What Tatsuki sees in her dreams shouldn't be ignored. So the biggest question after the book's re-release, with its warning about a new continent in 2025, is this. Could something like that actually happen? Surprisingly, the answer is yes. It's unlikely, but theoretically possible. Japan sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates meet and underwater volcanoes are common. These plates are always moving, causing earthquakes, eruptions, and sometimes new land. In 2013, an underwater volcano erupted just 500 meters off Japan's Nishinoshima Island, creating a small island. In months it grew, merging with the main island and doubling Nishinoshima's size. In 2021, another volcano erupted in the Kuril Islands between Japan and Russia. When scientists checked it out, they found a new island had formed. These events, while small, show that what Tatsuki described isn't completely impossible. Let's go back to her 2021 dream, where Tatsuki saw two dragons twisting underwater. Symbolism aside, researchers have noticed something curious. The dragons' positions line up with two major tectonic plates beneath the Pacific, the Philippine Sea Plate and the Pacific Plate. The chances of an underwater eruption are highest where these plates meet. And if the conditions are right, that kind of eruption could push the seafloor upward and create new land. If there's one dream that makes Tatsuki wake up gasping for air, not because she's scared, but because the sense of loss is too real, it's the dream she had in the late 90s. She wrote about it in her journal, but only admitted later she was never ready to share it, not because she feared disbelief, but because she was terrified people would be helpless to stop it. In that dream, a deafening sound erupted from deep within the earth, so loud she felt her spine shiver, even asleep. It sounded like an ancient roar, like the earth's crust was cracking open somewhere. She woke up in the dream. The clock read exactly 5 wasards, but there was no way to know if it was 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. Tatsuki walked out of her home to find everything destroyed. The roads were shattered. Buildings had their lower floors ripped apart, like some invisible hand had torn off chunks of concrete. Cars were flipped over, roofs collapsed, and power lines flickered like the ruins of a once great city. She saw a huge bridge spanning a river, but half of it was gone. She was alone. The street was empty. And when Tatsuki looked down, she realized she was no longer standing on solid ground. All around her was just water. Then the moment she woke up, she felt like everything had ended. When re-releasing The Future I Saw, Tatsuki added a note. I'm not sure if this scene is from the 2011 earthquake or not, because what I saw was much worse. And I was wearing a short-sleeved shirt, even though March in Japan is still freezing. That small detail, the short-sleeved shirt, sent chills down people's spines. Because the 2011 tsunami happened in winter, but Tatsuki's dream had summer vibes. And in 2025, what she dreamed of will supposedly happen in the summer. You might not believe in dreams. You might think nobody can truly see the future, but if there was anything in this story that made you stop and think, share your thoughts down below. I always love reading them and diving deeper into the mysteries of the world. And if you want to hear more stories like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. See you in the next video. I aim to make it more conversational and engaging while still staying true to the original information. Let me know what you think.